Here is my recap for Dexter New Blood Season 1, Episode 4, which is entitled H for Hero. This episode definitely revolves around Dexter's son, Harrison, and this interesting thing that happens. But I want to talk about these girls who have gone missing first. There is actually a scene in this episode where Audrey, actually, this is Dexter's girlfriend's daughter, actually ends up with Harrison. They're driving, and they get stranded out in the middle of nowhere. And that's when this rich guy who was doing the drilling in the town actually confronts her and asks if, she needs help, and she says no, and they kind of get into a little verbal argument. They have differences, and he lets it all known there, and he says, you got to be careful around these parts, girls have gone missing, that kind of a thing, and he leaves. So the show is leading you to believe he's the one who's taking these girls, which, again, I don't think it's him. I think it's Kurt Caldwell. I think that's where this is headed. But at the same time, they also showed these girls being taken, and you see Kurt Caldwell actually befriending a girl during this episode who he's been helping her, and at the end of the episode, she goes to him to get money to go out of town, and he isn't going to help her out anymore and actually takes her to this remote place and to this basement thing, and she's being led down into this basement, and that's the last we see of Kurt Caldwell and her in this episode. But there was a scene, and I don't remember if it was in this episode or the episode before, but where this girl was running and gets shot dead by whoever's holding these girls. And so we know there's something definitely going on with these girls going missing, and Dexter's girlfriend is still looking for all of these girls and is doing everything she can to find them. So there's some movement there. But the majority of this episode revolves around Harrison. Harrison actually ends up having an altercation at school with the boy who he actually helped, and he showed him that journal where he shot up the school and killed everybody. He actually had a kill list in there and some very graphic drawings. And you find out Dexter gets called and he gets called from the school, and the school tells him, your son was in this altercation. You should probably come get him. And he goes down there and finds out that his son was stabbed in the side, and that the boy that was going to shoot up these individuals was actually almost mortally wounded. He had a big gash on the inside of his thigh, and he's being taken to the hospital. And there's actually a scene in this episode where Harrison kind of confronts the parents at the hospital going to see how he's doing, and they berate him and do not want him going anywhere near their son ever again. Dexter goes and looks at the crime scene and actually ends up finding out that Harrison was lying and was not attacked. He actually attacked the boy, and Dexter was able to de-engineer what happened and figures this out. And one thing I forgot to mention in the last recap was that Deborah has been around and has been just ridiculing Dexter left and right. In fact, the third episode was quite funny with Deborah really getting on his case, and she did a little bit in this episode as well. Harrison is an interesting individual. Dexter was able to de-engineer what happened. And there was actually a scene in this episode where Harrison was in the school by himself. He had earphones in, and he was going through his phone, and he was reading articles about the killer who actually killed his mom. So it had a picture of John Lithgow, his mom, and the article of what had happened. So I'm not wondering if John Lithgow is not his dark passenger. We're come to find out, they're leading us to believe that he is a lot like Dexter, but he's definitely more social. He's not kind of laid back like Dexter is. He's actually very intelligent and can communicate really well in public, but behind the scenes, he might be kind of a psychopath, kind of like Dexter is. And I can kind of see where the show is going, where, what I think is going to happen, and this could get into spoiler territory. So if you don't want to have any idea of what might happen later in the season and what I think is going to happen, I think at the end of this season, Dexter, so spoiler warning from here on out, I think Dexter is going to be killed in this season, at the end of the season, and his son is actually going to be taking over. I think we're going to find out that they have a kinship, and Dexter is going to actually train his son to do what he does, and is actually going to get killed by who the bad guy is. I think Kurt Caldwell is the bad guy in this season, and I do believe that they're going to get into an altercation that is actually going to kill both of them, and that Harrison will be leading the show moving on in the future. So we'll see what happens, but I hope they don't kill Dexter off personally. I would like them to be, for both of them to be a part of the series going forward, and hopefully they make more episodes. But that's where I think this is going. I think Kurt Caldwell is the one taking the girls, and that we're going to see some big changes at the end of the season. But we do have 6 more episodes this season, and I will be recapping those as they do come up. All right, I do appreciate the support. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and you will be notified as I have new videos go up. We'll see you guys on the next recap.